Welcome to Real People, Real Voices. I'm your host, James Jackson.
And I am your co-host, Jackson, Pastor Wayne Moore.
Always a pleasure to host with you.
It is, man, it is a pleasure. Even in the midst of COVID-19, we've been able to bring real people, real voices to the homes of our viewers.
Yeah.
And not only that, we're able to do that because we have some sponsors. Can I share our sponsors with our audience?
Absolutely.
Tamico Associates and Realty Group and Martin University, Marion County Public Health Department, Lee Kossel and Crawley and Owl's Modern Clothing and Shoes, Northside Window and Gutter Cleaning, Fervent Care Christian Academy, and His Place Eatery. Our spot, man, we have a heck of a sponsor list, you know, and I'm hoping within the next 30 days we can get at least 2 more sponsors. What do you think about that?
Yeah, we've been tremendously blessed. And, you know, Dr. Moore, we actually use their services, and it's just such a blessing not to just talk about it, but we also quite often use their services.
Yeah.
And speaking of services, for those of you who want to see the programs that you have seen in this one, once it's over, you can do that by going to our YouTube channel, WHMB TV 40. And as always,
you can like us on Facebook.
On Facebook.
Yeah, we're there.
Join everybody who's there on Facebook. And you know, Dr. Moore, for, as you said, with COVID-19 for almost a year now, we haven't been back in the studio.
No, I mean, I miss the studio, man. I miss the fellowship of the studio. But, you know, God has perfect timing. And God knows exactly what he's doing. And we just need to be patient because we need safe environments. And that's what it's all about.
Absolutely. A wonderful guest coming up here in just a little bit, Sheriff Forstall, our sheriff in Marion County, along with Deputy Chief Creer, is going to be joining us to talk about what's going on over at the Marion County Jail, as well as some new things that are going to be happening with the Community Justice Center.
Yeah, you know, I like that because, you know, a lot of us, and I'm one of those, Pastor Jackson, I was anti, and I can admit it. I just didn't see all of that money going into that jail system. And compared to what I see around central Indiana and Indianapolis and other counties and some areas of struggle. But I think Mr. Sheriff Forstall and Deputy Chief Creer are going to give us a different flavor and how we ought to be able to look at this.
And we'll be back with all of that in just a bit. Welcome back, and we're joined by some folks here in Marion County, over at the Marion County Jail, Sheriff Forstall and Deputy Chief Creer. Welcome to the program.
Thank you. Appreciate inviting us today.
Thank you. Good to have you. We're excited to have you all with us, and been some time since we interviewed you last. Tell us about how things are going at the jail with all the COVID that's going on. And if you would, give us some more information on Deputy Chief Creer.
Deputy Chief Creer, I believe, is 17 years maybe now, Tanisha. And she is our jail commander. She has been for the last 2 years since I've been the sheriff. And she's responsible for the 2,000 plus people that we have in there every day. So and it's not a job where you go home Monday through Friday. I know she doesn't like to see her phone ring in the middle of the night, but I know that happens because that's a 24-hour day operation and somebody I count on every day to be sure that things are running right there.
Outstanding. And all those years, Deputy Chief, kind of talk to us how that's been for you, and congratulations on how that you've been able to successfully move up through the ranks.
Thank you. It's definitely been exciting. I started off as a deputy here in the jail. I've worked every shift in the facility. I've worked in different sections in the facility within the sheriff's office. I was at one time the field training coordinator. I've been a section supervisor, And in 2015, I was promoted to the assistant jail commander. And then in 2019, when Sheriff Forrestal took office, I was promoted to jail commander. So it's definitely been exciting and a great career path.
I'm excited to hear that.
How do you feel about being a female in that position?
I feel great, actually. There were some times where I thought that I may be in a position where I would feel intimidated, but not so much. I know what I'm doing. I've worked back here for the majority of my 16 years with the sheriff's office, and so it's been great. I think I'm the second female jail commander that the sheriff's office has had. So,
how are you managing COVID as a jail commander?
We've implemented a lot of new practices here in the facility. We've implemented some cleaning practices. The sheriff authorized some additional hiring for cleaning purposes, and just working very closely with Marion County Health Department, with Dr. Kane, whom I know you all have had on your show previously. We are working closely and paying attention to the CDC guidelines, and with our medical contractor. So we're managing.
Okay.
And Sheriff Forrestal, you've got some opportunities for employment over there. Talk to us about that.
We do. We have openings in both the jail division as detention deputies and also for dispatchers in the emergency 911 center. So we have close to 80 jobs that are available right now. Both of those positions pay about the same, $36,070, $36,000 a year. And I know that Deputy Chief Creer will tell you there's a great opportunity for overtime in the jail. So people who want to work more, there is that opportunity. There's benefits. You have retirement that you'll begin when you're hired. There's both of those positions are 24 hours. So if you're not an 8 to 4 person and you can't work around your schedule, you might be a teacher that needs to have their husband or their son or somebody at a different schedule, their grandmother. You can work around there. We've got evening shifts. We have 5 different shifts in communication and 3 different shifts in the jail. And I'll just mention that in the last 3 years, 50 plus deputies, sheriffs were hired from our detention deputy staff. So you have an opportunity to come into work and show your work product. So that when you apply to be a deputy sheriff, you can say, this is what I've done. And you can have people like Deputy Chief Creer say, yeah, they worked for me and they did a good job back here.
Outstanding. And are you getting interest, particularly with everything that's been going on, as Dr. Moore had indicated with COVID? Certainly there's challenges, and there might be people who are apprehensive about applying there with some of the things that we've heard going on in jails across the country with regard to COVID. What would you say to that?
There has been challenge. There's no doubt about that. But, that's offset by the fact that, there's 2,000 people, 150 plus at any time charged with murder. So when you walk amongst the crowd of 150 people charged with murder, the COVID is just one more thing that, you stand up for, and we're cautious. We're sure that our people are given the proper medical gear, covering their faces. We've constant interaction, like Deputy Chief Creer said, with Dr. Kane. Couldn't do it without Dr. Kane. We followed her all the way through. We, right at the beginning last year in April, bought some, I'll say them, they're like large bug lights, but that's what they look like. But we actually are able to move them from cell to cell and courtroom to courtroom and remove people from there, turn it on, and it basically bakes that area. So brings it back to cleanliness, and that's a regular thing that we do. I appointed right from the beginning, appointed somebody to be our COVID czar, if you lack of a better term, so that we keep the supplies constantly there. There's always the cleansing and the mask and the gloves and whatever you need. We have shields, clear face shields, so that's an option. So those are all things that people have to do in restaurants even, so this is a chance to, to come to work here. We have had a really big push that we've been advertising. Probably saw it last Sunday all over Channel 40. And we've got some other locations and it has on a daily basis, I get a count on how many people applies, and I've seen an uptick. The people are aware of that.
With the COVID concern, Chief, Deputy Chief, since you run the jail, with the COVID concern, how's the discipline?
Amongst the inmate population?
The inmate population.
It's going pretty well, as far as them following the guidelines that we put forth as far as the COVID precautions, because I think they are amongst, the general population who are also concerned with their health. And they want to make sure that they are taking all the precautions that are necessary and that are recommended to make sure that they remain safe and healthy as well. So it hasn't been difficult. There are some reminders that we have to have, pull your mask up, make sure it's covering your mouth and your nose, just re-implementing what the cleaning supplies and solution is actually for while in the inmate housing units. But other than that, we haven't had any significant pushback on any of the precautions that we've put in place.
Okay, that's great. I think that's great. Go right ahead, Brother Jackson.
Yeah, we got to take a quick break. And when we come back, we want to continue on with our very, very esteemed guests. And we appreciate you all again for joining us. We'll be back after these messages. Welcome back to Real People, Real Voices. And again, we're joined by our Sheriff, Dahl, and Deputy Chief Creer. Again, we welcome you all to Real People, Real Voices. And just before the break, Dr. Moore was going to ask a question. So we want to continue on with that.
Deputy Chief, you're looking forward to the new facility, I assume.
Yes, sir.
And tell me why, as one who oversees the jail, why are you looking forward to that?
Because the new facility is going to bring some significant changes that we need, not only as a physical plant coming from a very antiquated facility, going into a new facility, but also for our staff, just being able to walk into a new and more vibrant environment. Also, our inmate population, I think, will benefit from that as well. There's more visibility inside the housing areas that assist us in making sure that our population remains safe. Technology that will be put into place to allow us to more efficiently do our jobs. So there are a lot of things, but those just being some of them.
And to be honest about it, we cannot talk about the jail without talking about some of the travesty that happens in jail systems across the country. You mentioned, Deputy Chief, about the technology. And so that technology will provide, be more specific as it relates to monitoring these inmates.
So we will have a better tracking system to allow us to know where the individuals within the facility are, what's going on. We'll have more cameras that will be able to help us monitor what's going on inside of the housing units. There will be technology that our deputies will be able to have in their hands as they're going around and checking on these the individuals within the facility, and they can document real time right there what's going on, or if they need medical attention, that information can get signaled back to our medical department in real time instead of waiting for paperwork to be traveled from one location to the next within the facility. The inmate population will be able to order commissary from the technology portals that will be in place. They will be able to put in grievances and also medical requests.
I
So
know. Go right ahead. I'm sorry.
There are a lot of things that right now that we currently have paper processes for, which take a little bit longer, that we will now be able to turn into electronic processes that will be a more expedient process and response.
So Sheriff Forstall, you're going to have a massive computer system in that place then, based on this technology.
That's true. And one of the things I like about that is right now, like the chief said, a lot of it's just paper or voice. But I mean, if you sit there and you think about sitting in an airport and you're waiting for your flight, you can glance up and see that when it's going to happen and what gate it's going to be at. We can have the same thing in that cell, that if a prisoner's waiting to have their appearance in court and when it's going to happen, instead of what's now a deputy, can you tell me when this is going to happen? They can look up there on that screen and say, okay, I've got a 1:30 appointment I need to prepare for. And I'll say one of the things that we were ahead of, and I say we, so I wasn't here when this was, first built in this position, but, there were questions in the legal community and whether we wanted to have video court. Well, COVID made that decision for us. And I think once that's been done, I doubt we go back. I think most of the people see the purpose. There's no doubt we have to have the in-person, but there is the opportunities to where people don't have to be moved. They can see make their appearance quicker, and those type of opportunities from the electronic side that we didn't have when we walked people through the city county building from place to place.
Chief, Deputy Chief, you run the jail, and so this new system will create a inbred type of system of de-escalation for you, don't you think?
I believe so, because our population will see probably a quicker turnaround in response. And so they won't feel as though their concerns or their requests are going unheard, because there won't be, a gap in between time. So that will help.
What I mean by the de-escalation is, in all jails, we do know we have discipline issues. We do know that things kind of get out of control. But I'm basically saying the technology is going to help you de-escalate issues in the jail much quicker than you have in the past. Would you agree with that, Sheriff or Deputy, either one?
Well, I know for one, the visibility will be there. There are areas of our jail now that are just too dark and you can't see it, and we can't get a camera at any angle that somebody couldn't cover. And that's one of the concerns I've had from the beginning is the death in the jail from suicide. I mean, that's something that neither myself, Deputy Chief Creer, or any of us want to see. But, somebody comes back from getting a sentence of 100 years for a child molesting crime, and we have to have them cautiously watched. And one of the areas we could have is that the cells will be more open, and we're hoping that gives an opportunity, also a quicker response. Other inmates can say, hey, deputy, I think this person's at risk. Because a lot of times the people that are going to do it don't tell us. A lot of times they'll tell us and we put them in protective custody to minimize it. But the real serious ones make that choice, and the first time we find about it if they've made that attempt. So if we could have eyes on them more often and longer, it's to our advantage to not get that call, those type of tragedies.
Okay.
Well, Sheriff, we're glad to see things moving forward. This has been in the works for quite some time. And a lot of people focus on the jail side of this versus the community justice center, where the people's business is taking place. And at one time, as I understand it, the city county building was considered one of the most dangerous addresses in Marion County because of the way that we move prisoners from one place to another, folks coming in, taking care of the business. So we got to be pretty happy with, and this is Black History Month, Dr. Martin Luther King talks about human dignity. This should improve that as well.
Absolutely. That was designed in 1960 and never thought they'd have the number of courts that they had throughout. There was a court wing on the west side, but now we have courts in the basement. We have courts up on the floors. They're everywhere. And ideally, we bring them onto the elevators and we have to keep the public, but at arm's length. It's not separate transportation. And now they will have a separate tunnel that's completely separates them from the public. So if we do move them from place to place, They don't interact. We don't want somebody to make an escape attempt, and we don't want anybody to feel as though they have to do something to somebody that committed a crime against their family and being exposed to them by walking through the city county building. So if we can minimize contact, that's going to be to our advantage and the public's too.
Well, as always, thank you all for joining us. We've run out of time already. We've enjoyed our time with you all. All the best to the transition. And hopefully Dr. Moore and I can get a tour of the facilities when they're done.
We can do that for sure. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, Deputy Chief.
Thank you for having me.
Stay with us. We'll be back after this. Welcome back to Real People, Real Voices, and thank you for joining us on today. We really appreciate it. Be sure to tune in, check your local listings when we're on. Dr. Moore, what a wonderful 2 segments there with our sheriff.
Yeah, and I like the twist and flavor that was given. And then I even like the fact that he's going to give Channel 4 an opportunity to tour the facility and bring it to the community. I think that's going to be phenomenal for that to take place, because we hear a lot of things about that jail system, the Justice Center, but for people to see it for themselves and see some things transpire in there that could be positive, because when we think of jail, we think of negative situations. But to hear the conversation today, they talked about some positive things that are going to be advantageous for the population.
Absolutely. And Curtis, thank you for all your work. We appreciate it.
Well, thank you guys to you being, great stewards of the program. I appreciate all you've done throughout 2020. Hopefully, like you said, we can get back in the studio sometime soon when it's safe. But you guys have been great. And the guests we had today were fantastic. And I do look forward to having TV40 do a tour of the facilities when they get it up and running. That would be a great thing for the public to see firsthand. What's going on in the Marion County Jail. But I do also want to tease something. Next week, we will have a guest, Attorney Nathaniel Lee, one of our sponsors will be our guest next week on our program. So make sure you're tuning into that as well. Can I give a shout out to some of the sponsors?
Well, we're out of time.
We're out of time?
Yeah, man. You didn't talk your way out.
All of our sponsors.
Yeah.
All of them.
We'll see you all.
Thank all of our sponsors.
All of them. It is great.
We'll see you all next time. Thanks for watching.